You're ready to be premature all over again.
Wow, that's impressive.
Quick
bro.
reset. Quick reset.
Last night was Ramos Jizz.
Freudian slip. Who knew the job was pro bono?
I was so high that I shit myself at some point.
Okay, it's doing for somebody. Everybody mute. Goddammit, you're killing me.
My SEAL Team 6 went to SEAL Team 12.
There's nothing wrong with punching above your weight.
I thought you'd get better.
Well,
I don't know what's
also-
worse. You're a ginger or you've been vaccinated.
You sit around and drink and solve the world's problems, right?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is a new year. It is not a new show. It is definitely a new topic. Holy shit and hallelujah. Here we are, the first episode of the new year. Obviously we recorded one previous to New Year's and then released it, but this is actually the first recording of the new year. So here we are finally together, a little later than I'd like to have been, but things being what they are, doesn't matter. The four horsemen, Los Cuatros Jinetes, the chaos gods, whatever the fuck you want to call us. Here we are. We're in the house. We're in the studio. Unfortunately, not sitting in the same room like we were last time. A little disappointing, but gentlemen, how's everybody doing?
Doing well. Doing well.
Well.
Yes.
So not doing whelmed, but just well.
That's
Okay.
right.
That's a start.
Right.
No, doing whelmed.
Doing whelmed. Okay. Haas, you are still stateside, so excited about that. Unfortunately, as I said, we're not sitting in the same room, but we're about as close as we're going to get. And as close as we've been in the last 3 years. So I'm happy everybody's here. Mac, you're awfully quiet. You okay? You doing all right?
I'm doing just peachy keen, man.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen. That butter voice. You heard him. He is here.
Butter.
Better.
Parquet.
That's it. I'm excited everybody's here. Got a good show for you today. The first one of the new year. 2023. Here we are. We'll see how this year goes. Obviously, before we start, we're going to go around the room, do our drinks. I'm going to go first. I did something very simple, very easy. It was just hearkening back to something we've done multiple times, multiple people. And I just did a Cuba Libre. So a little rum, little Coke, little lime. Now, for those who don't know, I am remodeling my kitchen. So I don't have a sink at the moment. So I just put it in I didn't have a red Solo cup, but it's a blue Solo cup and it works. But I'm not trying to avoid doing dishes. So right now it's paper plates, plastic cups, and plastic silverware. And that's how we're rolling till we get our sink up and running.
I'd like to point out that that's pretty darn close to Carolina blue. So
It is.
Are you getting ready for something?
No, one can hope. It just happened to be the color I picked. There were 4 colors. It was like green, blue, orange, and I don't remember what the fourth one was. May have been red. May have been
Purple
red.
diamonds, yellow.
That's right. Green
It's
clover.
Lucky Charms.
That's it. So I'm just doing a Cuba Libre, something super simple. So, all right, Max, since you wanted to chime in, brother, what are you doing?
I'm doing a tequila sunrise. So, grenadine, orange juice, and Kirkland signature tequila.
I was about to say, I was like, let me think. And I figured that's what you were probably drinking was a Kirkland's tequila. I like how he always says that Kirkland's signature, as if they have something other than that.
They might. You don't know.
Okay.
You
Do you
haven't
know?
been.
Dude, I have been. That's a lie. I have stood in the store and we have bought alcohol.
Twice, actually. Yeah, you're right.
So I don't want to hear your shit. Let's move on. We're wasting time. Haas, how you doing, brother?
Hi, man. How you doing?
I'm good. What are you drinking today, sir?
I decided since I got this when we were all together, and I've not really had much to drink since then, I would enjoy some more of this Bullet old-fashioned cocktail pre-made because it's actually pretty banging.
I did not try that when we were together. It's everything's in there. You just pour it over ice and you're good.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, instead of having to have all the things, just have the one bottle and throw in a couple cubes and pour and enjoy. I'm a fan of that. And Bullet's a solid. It's a solid bourbon.
It's a Mac. You got to love that. It's a pre-made.
Hey, but it's no bib and tuck it.
What did you call them? Bib and ticket?
Yeah.
Bib and ticket.
When I saw that, I was like, I know what he means.
Yeah. And clearly it must be good.
I saw
It is
it.
good.
I know what that means. It means he's about 3 into the night before he sent that message.
That's about right. Yeah.
Yes, a little bib and tuck it. I don't know why I just suddenly went to Silence of the Lambs when you said that, but probably not where I should have gone. But yeah, it's I'd fuck me.
Yes.
No, Mac.
No,
Have you not seen that movie?
I
Put it on your list, Mac.
I've seen that movie.
Okay.
That's just my standard answer to anything now.
I've seen
I don't even know what movie you're talking about. Yeah, I've seen that movie.
I'm gonna be like, can you quote something from it?
We need like an entire like 4 or 5 day weekend to just sit and watch movies.
Binge watch movies. Exactly.
Yeah.
We've agreed. We've done you a disservice as friends. We have allowed you to go this long without seeing a number of classic films, and that needs to be resolved. But
maybe we'll take this and do a whole episode on that.
Absolutely. We definitely should. Definitely should. And by the way, as a listener, if you know of any movie that you think Mac should see, you can hit up his email. What's that email? MacBottom003 @gmail.com. MacBottom003 @gmail.com. A list of movies Mac needs to watch. Feel free to drop him a line. All right, let's finish up. Grinch, what are you drinking today, brother, with your double ponytail?
All right, so I'm drinking Hochstetter's Slow and Low Rock and Rye.
That's a mouthful. That's like Hoss.
So this was established in 1884, and I'll give you a little readout of it here. So it's straight rye whiskey, rock candy, raw honey, aromatic bitters, and navel orange.
That sounds amazing.
And it's so by the turn of the century, rock and rye blurred the line between refreshment and remedy. Pharmacists prescribed rock and rye to snuff out coughs, colds, sore throats, bronchitis, asthma, and pneumonia. No ailment was too great or too small for rock and rye's therapeutic relief.
I was say, bro, this is your kind of medicine, isn't it?
Yeah. In 1890, the Memphis Medicinal Monthly stated that when a man, quote, gets within 20 yards of the door of a saloon, he commences coughing and puts his hand over his chest with an agonized expression and slips in the door and takes some rock and rye. So I've actually not had it yet.
But where was your cough? You're supposed to cough before you.
Oh, yeah, that'll do the trick. That's the new cough medicine right there.
There you go. So you can take that to the doctor with you, and when they tell you to turn your head and cough, has that man got a headset? Man's got a headset. Look at him.
A computer headset. I'm still missing my Xbox headset. That somehow got lifted.
I don't know what you're talking about. I brought it up there. I brought it back. I did what I was supposed to do. All right, gentlemen. Well, I appreciate it. Cheers to all of you. As always,
Cheers.
Love being here.
Prost.
All right. And as I say, let's go to work. So I don't even remember who brought this topic. Grinch, I believe it was you, right? But Mac, you sent out the article, but Grinch, you actually brought it to the table. And that was on January 1st of this year, Rolling Stone released The Voices of the Ages, the 200 greatest singers of all time, from Frank Sinatra on down the line, R&B to salsa to alt rock. And so it was really just kind of perusing this list, the top 200 greatest singers. Yes. Okay. Vocalists, whatever you want to call it, of all time.
I think it's very important to call out, though. It is the 200 greatest singers.
Yep.
They specifically say in there that they're not talking just,
voice talent,
voice
right?
alone. Right.
And so
can we start off with, they got this wrong.
Okay. We'll get there. We'll get there. Hold that.
I had to say it. I had to say it because I couldn't hold it in any longer.
So Grinch mentions this article, Max sends it out, and immediately everybody had something to say. And so I real quick, just before we jump off the deep end, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what they say at the outset of this article, just for the purpose of this show. And it's interesting that they even say this in the article. Before you start scrolling and commenting, keep in mind that this is the greatest singers list, not the greatest voices list. Talent is impressive. Genius is transcendent. Sure, many of the people who were born with massive pipes, perfect pitch, and boundless range. Others have rougher, stranger, more delicate instruments. As our write-up for the man who ended up at number 112, Ozzy Osbourne, doesn't have what most people would call a good voice, but boy, does he have a great one. That could apply to more than a few people here. In all cases, what mattered most to us was originality, influence, the depth of an artist's catalog, and the breadth of their musical legacy. A voice can be gorgeous like Mariah Carey's, rugged like Toots Hibbert's, understated like Willie Nelson's, slippery and sumptuous like D'Angelo's, or bracing like Bob Dylan's. But in the end, the singers behind it are here for one reason. They can remake the world just by opening their mouths. So that's what they mention in the article in terms of their criteria. Originality, influence, the depth of their catalog, and the breadth of their musical legacy.
Okay, then can I start then? And how the fuck is Taylor Swift not on this list?
She is on
Before-
this list.
Is she?
Before we
Because
get to that-
I looked and I didn't find her.
Before we get to that,
well-
it's worth noting that this was the last time this was done was in 2008,
Right.
and it was the 100 greatest singers of all time. The difference was it was assembled by 179 different people, experts, in the music field. And I think they said it tended to skew classic rock, like
Yeah.
kind of into that
Yes.
zone. Whereas this one is intended to be more
Pop, I think.
pop broad, and I put the two side by side and I was kind of looking at what had changed like in the top 10, which was interesting, but there was a different focus. So that, Thor, you reading out that their explanation of their methodology is important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it just for Haas. Taylor came in at 102.
So didn't even make the
Is it
top
102?
100.
Okay.
Didn't
But
even
not
crack
the
the top 100.
Sorry,
And
because I did a search. I did an Alt F and didn't find her. Thank you.
And I'll say what's interesting is when you look at this list, like, and again, there are 200, and I was like, wow, that's a lot to go
At
through.
some point, you stop scrolling. I'll be honest.
You stop scrolling. I started with the top 20, and I figured I would work from there. And because I wanted to see, okay, based on their criteria, what's the top 20 look like? And it's interesting when you look at the top 20, because right on the bubble is at 20 is Marvin Gaye, and then Sinatra, Celia Cruz, Elvis Presley, like a lot of names that are going to have the musical legacy, right? They're going to have an incredibly
A long
long
catalog.
catalog. And then you get down
Tell me how.
then you
Okay,
get down to 8. 8's the first one, really, Beyonce. Beyonce's the first kind of modern pop singer. Prince is on there, but Prince was around for decades, right? I mean,
Mhm.
here we are in 2023. He was around for decades. Beyonce's the first one, and then kind of stuck in there next, where she's in between Otis Redding and Stevie Wonder, and then you have Ray
That
Charles.
sounds about right.
Then 5 is Mariah Carey, and you go, I get it, right? I get that.
Again, if you're talking straight voice,
but
I
hold on.
understand that.
Yeah, but we're
right?
talking about Mariah Carey above Beyonce. Wrong. Just wrong.
You think?
We're talking Carrie Underwood before Kelly Clarkson. Wrong. Kelly Clarkson's barely on this list. Wrong. Hold on. Whitney Houston is in the freaking top 5. Was she like number 2?
She's 2.
Sings on the
Yeah.
quarter note. Barf. How is she above freaking Kelly Clarkson or a Taylor Swift? Wrong. Like I don't know.
And-
Were they high? Were they drinking? were they repeatedly punched over the head with a freaking wooden bat before they created this list? Wrong.
Real quick, unless I missed it, because again, just with Taylor, right? This was a really long list. I don't believe Bono made the list.
He did. He's
Did he? Okay,
2
and
he's actually 2 before Taylor Swift. So I think he's
Okay.
at 100.
Well, I did find it interesting. I mean, first off, I have no issues with Aretha being consistently number 1. I don't know who I'd put above her in terms of strength of voice. And I mean, it's when you rank art, it's not science, as we've said in the past. So I grant them that, but I still think it's flawed. I also find it interesting that from the 100 greatest singers, Elvis Presley was 3rd. And in the
He's
200
17th.
greatest, he's 17th.
But is that because they expanded their scope of the music that they were utilizing? Because I think you said in 2008 it tended to bend classic rock,
I think that's what was said.
and I'm wondering if because they're expanding their scope in terms of the music that they're looking at, maybe that's why his place on the list shifted, because they were able to drop other people in below him. With that being said, like Fiona Apple at 111, name me 2 songs Fiona Apple sang.
I could. I don't even know if I could name you the one song that she sang.
Bad criminal.
Yeah,
Or whatever
it's
it
not
is.
Bad Criminal though, right?
It's,
That's because it's something
I've been
like
a
that.
bad girl.
Yes, she has.
So it's what he said was, when Rolling Stone first published its list of the 100 greatest singers in 2008, we used an elaborate voting process that included input from well-known musicians. The results skewed toward classic rock and singers from the 60s and 70s. This new list was compiled by our staff and key contributors, and it encompasses 100 years of pop music as an ongoing global conversation.
I mean, and by the way, Haas, just not to call you out, but Bono is not 100, and he's not 105.
yeah.
He's not 2 around
I
Swift.
saw him. I saw him.
No,
Okay.
where is he? Because
I haven't come across him
find
yet.
him.
I saw him. I swear.
Yeah.
Give me a second. I'll find him again.
Okay.
Well, and then how do you put Adele on there but not Celine Dion?
That's when my
What's
wife
the
flipped
fucking
her
difference?
shit on that. Right. My
Yeah.
wife was like,
Yeah,
what?
what's the fucking difference?
And way too low Adele is.
And of course, I think 25 is Mary J. Blige. My wife likes Mary J. Blige. She's like, no fucking way. She should be
But
at
not
25.
that-
She's
not
way too
that
high on
much.
that list.
Yeah.
No. And that was her thing. Like, I think she got more offended by this list than I did. I was just like, okay. You know, I understand what they're claiming in terms of what they use for criteria, but we did this and Grinch, you and I talked about this. YouTube being the best selling band of all time. And again, the argument I made during that was whoever's creating the criteria is purposely going to skew the results because they're in control of the criteria. And I think a lot of this, look, I think Aretha Franklin did a shit ton for women, Black women in music in terms of what she did. But does that mean she should be number one? I don't know. I'm hard pressed to say yes for myself.
Did you have somebody else in mind as your number one?
I didn't. Mac, what were you going to say? I'll get back to that.
I was going to say I found Bono 140.
And you don't agree with
sorry.
that?
No, I don't. I mean, you're going to stack him in the middle of everything he's
mid-100s?
done, and I mean, I guess the question is, are you looking at it from a Bono or a U2 perspective, right? Because obviously he doesn't have a solo career,
Right.
But a lot of these people aren't solo artists, right? If you look at Kurt Cobain on there, clearly, was a member of the band Nirvana. Chris Cornell didn't really have a solo career. I mean, he put out a couple of songs, but was more of a Soundgarden. So I think though at 140 that seems way low. And in my opinion,
about this? Usher's 2 above Elton John. What the fuck?
And then you're going to put
Sorry,
Alicia
Mac.
Keys at 185.
Right. I thought that girl was on fire.
Well, not according to Rolling Stone.
Right. And again, there is I think a bend, like when I naturally look at it, I go, okay, Ozzy Osbourne 112, fine. But Eddie Vedder at 105, like they're not even in the same fucking ballpark in terms of vocalists, singers. I don't know. I was kind of confused by the list. I was boggled by it. To answer your question, Grinch, no, I don't have somebody that I think is an outright one. Does she work? Yeah, I think she does because of the legacy that she created for colored women in general in the music industry. And if that's what we're using.
I was going to say, you can't say that that's the criteria because you got a shit ton of men on here that clearly wouldn't fit that criteria.
Well, that's true. And we joked about this when the list got sent out. Glenn Danzig at 198.
I know.
What?
And I'm not saying
he should be way higher than that.
I respect the hell out of Aretha Franklin. I have no problem with her being number one, as I think I said. It's just, I mean, it's not like a hill I'm trying to die on over, no. I'll defend this position no matter what because nobody's better. Like I said, it's art. So depending
It's
on,
subjective.
to your point, Thor,
Yes.
how you tweak the criteria, you can, it's almost like you make the list, adjust the criteria, keep tweaking it until you're like, yeah, I think I can defend most anything on here.
Right, and that's the point,
But
right?
you can't defend everything on here. This is bullshit.
Well,
I mean,
exactly. That's right. So we're all in agreement. It's not that Aretha's number one, or we don't even agree with some of the top 10 or top 20. It's some of the absurd positions that some of the artists fall under, and then who comes before them. It's like, come on. Like I could sit down with a 4-year-old and they could come up with a better list than this.
Well, then I guess I will have to say 2 that just stuck out to me. Bono at 140. Okay. So we're going to start there as our position. Bono's at 140. So then I would ask, how do you put Axl Rose at 134?
ahead of him. Yeah.
Ahead of him. And how the fuck do you put Courtney Love at 130 if Bono's sitting at 140?
40. It's ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
Because you're going to tell me that they have better voices? No. They have a better, deeper catalog? No. What is your criteria for saying that either of them would be ahead of and again, right? I'm trying to take the personal aspect out of this, right? Because
I understand
how much I feel about you too, but I think that's an easy sell, especially now. I'm not going to make the argument, because that's when you get, I think that's the point you're trying to drive at, right? I'm not going to say that Bono should be number one.
No,
but should he be above
certain people?
Courtney Love and Axl Rose?
And he is.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it should.
How about this one? Steve Perry with Journey, 82. Like that dude, if he's not in the top
Steve
50,
Perry.
I mean, in the top 50 minimum, if not higher. Like 82?
I agree.
82? Really?
I don't know about top 50.
Seriously,
Well,
bro, the vocals
Yeah,
on that guy
no.
are like ridiculous.
Him and the lead singer of Queensryche sound as good live as they do in the recording studio, in my opinion. They're just that, like, their voices are that strong. And oh, by the way, is Bruce Dickinson on here?
I have not come across him yet.
If he's not, then that'll piss me off too.
But you see, like Rob Halford from Judas Priest on here.
I
So you
just passed him. Yep.
at 129. So you would think, okay, there it would make sense for someone like a Bruce Dickinson, especially with the legacy and the catalog that Iron Maiden has. No reason he shouldn't be on there. But I guess when they talk about it being singers and they say, well, it's not just the vocal aspect. I don't. Then, like, how does someone like a Kurt Cobain end up on the list? Because he had a very gruff, I mean, it was a distinct voice for Nirvana. I think he was impressive as a songwriter, but as a singer,
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
I think he was impressive in a certain genre and in a certain way, right?
In a snapshot at a very specific time in the music industry.
Right.
He fit in at the perfect time when music was in a transitional period.
But are you, again, and they made point in the beginning that this is not vocally, right? So what really is the criteria? Because they never really said that, right? Because again, I think Kurt Cobain and Nirvana certainly had an impact, like you said.
Right.
No, I think they had an impact at
Sure,
that time.
they did, but he's a horrible vocalist and a horrible. All he
But
does
they're
is
not. But
whine
that's what
whole
the point
time.
they made is. It's not just about vocals.
I get that, and if that's the case, then why is Taylor Swift so low? Because she's not the strongest vocalist, but you could argue that she's had one of the largest, most profound impacts, on pop culture in what, a millennia?
Today, yeah.
I mean, holy crap! So I mean, I scrolled through this.
I mean, she's
list,
got
and every
middle-aged
time
men sitting around trying to buy tickets to her concert.
I just think it's funny that they're like, greatest singer. It's not about the voice, but the voice is important. I'm like,
It is.
Yeah.
what the fuck are we saying then? If it's not, like,
Well, and let's be honest. When you're talking about a list and you expand it to 200 people, at some point you're just, because again, there's
asking
names
for
on
trouble,
there.
right?
Well, not only that, but you're going out and looking for some names at some point, right?
Right.
To fill out your list. Because there are some names, and I think we're all pretty in tune with music. But there's some names on here that I'm like, who the fuck is that?
Well, I guess my argument would be right out of the gate. Number 200, Rosalia. Okay. They said, and let me go back. Where is it? Okay. Depth of the artist influence, originality, depth of the artist catalog, and breadth of their musical legacy. Rosalia, her breakthrough album was in 2018. What's her legacy? What's her catalog? I don't know. But it says she sings and it feels as if she's pulling out decades of history from her throat. That's an odd way to phrase that. Resurrecting them into thin air.
Or decade of
I don't
history.
want to be crass. Was that what she was pulling out from her throat?
Well, and again, but they said this is greatest singer, not greatest voices, right? And we said that. But every time you read something, even with her, okay, her vocal tone, the intuitive melasmas and rhythmic accents of which were built from training in flamenco for more than a decade. Everybody you read, they talk about their voice, but yet you say, well, it's not about their voice.
It's not. I think the point is, it's not just about their voice, right? Because if you look at, and again, we're talking about, say, like an Eddie Vedder, right? Not a great voice, but I think a great singer. If you're encapsulating the voice, the musical style,
but
and
as
the performance,
right,
if you're kind of bringing all of that together, and I'm guessing at what their point is with this list, right? And what their criteria may be, but I'm feeling like that might be it, right? Is kind of the total package.
Right.
You've got the voice, that fits with that time and that genre that you're singing in. You have the performance, and you kind of have that whole thing going on. I feel like Haas doesn't agree with me there,
I mean, it's not
or
that
the list. He's still
it's not that I don't agree with
dumbfounded
you.
by.
Every time I scroll through this list, I shake my head and go,
You see another name and you're like,
yeah, I
fuck?
do. And I'm like,
Is Christina Aguilera not on here?
yeah, she is.
She's in the middle though. Like
she's
Okay.
141, I believe.
All right.
I mean, horrible. Even though her vocal range is like, and power is just.
She's up there with Michael Stipe
Yeah, I mean,
from REM.
Yeah, she's 141, one ahead,
like
one
Bob
behind
Dylan.
Bono.
Bob Dylan being 15 because it says singers, right? And I get, and I won't argue or dispute the fact that he is one of the greatest songwriters, if not the greatest songwriter, maybe side of Taylor Swift in the last 100 years, right? I mean, it's arguable. I get that. But 15, really? No.
Yeah.
Where do you think he? So where would you put him?
I would have to like seriously sit down like with a giant wall of Post-it notes and columns and like have
Your
this
Apple
debate.
spreadsheets. And,
Yeah, exactly, right. But but 15 just it doesn't even feel remotely close to being correct.
I don't think 110 for the weekend is correct.
No, you should be
I
way
saw that one
higher
as
than
well.
that, if even on the list.
Say that again.
I said he should be higher if even on the list.
Yeah, there were some that just kind of threw me, and I'm just like, and like I said, my wife as well, because we were going through the list that after you sent it out, Mac, and like I said, she was more pissed off, and I'm just like, I wasn't sitting in the room. I have
why
no
do you
idea.
keep throwing my name out with this list? Like you're blaming me for it or something?
No, but
like,
you sent it out to us.
Remember, Grinch brought it up initially.
He did. He did bring it up.
I reforwarded it. So
What about Lionel Richie? Where's he?
He's in
or
the top
more-
10 or top 20.
No, he's not in the top.
Isn't he?
No, he's
Uh-uh.
I thought
not.
he's pretty close. He's above Freddie Mercury, I thought.
No, he's not in the
Little
top.
Richard, Otis Redding. I'm fairly good. Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles. Okay, maybe not. Oh, you're right. Lionel Richie may not. I apologize.
I haven't
Stand
actually come across him yet. Which,
Yeah, I haven't either.
anybody
How's
find
that? How's that
Shakira?
possible?
I mean, I think that's one that should be on here. Maybe.
No,
Shakira,
I mean, if
Shakira.
you're talking about shaking your ass, maybe, but come on. Like Roy Orbison at 71.
Well, hold on. Why would you not put her on here
Well,
above some of these other people?
And am I not mistaken too that
Bjork
Paul
at
McCartney
64.
was in the 100 list and he's not even on this list?
Paul
Or
McCartney's
is he-
26.
Okay,
Yeah, he's 26.
you scroll back and forth so much, and then you got to click on the different numbers.
Yeah.
Right. It's like,
Yeah. And if you
fuck.
try and read it on a phone, you're wasting your time.
I mean, George Michael at 62.
Where's Andrew Ridgely?
He's not on the list, and you know
Oh,
that.
that's some bullshit. That is some straight up bullshit.
And then you
right there.
go Kate Bush at 60. Would Kate Bush even be on the list if it wasn't for Stranger Things?
For Stranger
I
Things,
had
probably
that
not.
exact same thought.
I mean, because that was her kind of rebound,
Yeah,
obviously.
I mean, I work with a guy that's got a lot of a lot of Bush in his collection. So I mean, I think there was a time frame in a period in which she was popular with certain groups. But yes, I think you're absolutely right. Within this certain age range is Stranger Things. Otherwise, she wouldn't be popular. But I still think she could have made, because again, you're talking about 200 people. That's a long list.
Ariana Grande, Ella Fitzgerald at 45. I'm like,
Way too low.
I'm like,
Did anybody find James Hetfield?
no, he's not on the list. I have not come across him at all.
And that's perplexing because I couldn't find him either. The two I had starred exclamation points with big circles around them.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift
Of the
James
rock
Hetfield.
world, we're going to
Yeah.
put fucking Glenn Danzig in.
Right.
Right.
But James Hetfield would. I mean,
I'm sorry,
How,
Grinch. Who did you ask about?
Lionel Richie.
Oh yeah, I am. I'm in the 30s now. I have not seen him. No, Shaka Khan at 29.
What about
Shaka.
I mean,
Shaka
here's
Khan.
something also
Yes, sir.
interesting. Am I wrong in that Michael Jackson's not on here?
He is. He's.
He is, but he was in like the 80s, I think.
Yeah. He's in the upper.
Which I thought was very bizarre.
I was the same way. And again, when you're talking, he's 86. One ahead of or one behind Johnny Cash at 85. Diana Ross at 87.
What about David Bowie?
David Bowie at 32?
32.
32. Okay.
I mean, that seems a little.
Van Morrison, is he on this list?
He is.
He was. I can't remember where he fell now, though. But he was up pretty high.
I think he's in the top 50.
Speaking
I'm pretty
of
sure he's in the top
Morrisons,
50.
I didn't see Jim Yeah, Van Morrison's.
Yeah, I did not see Jim Morrison.
Yeah, Van Morrison's 37, but I didn't see Jim. Yeah.
Rihanna at 68.
I mean,
But like I said, and then I said it kind of tongue in cheek, but Bjork at 64.
Yeah.
that's
What?
Yeah,
Where's Hank Williams?
He's low, or I mean, he's high on the list. He's
Yeah.
he's
I
like
just
20.
asked him, I think.
He
He's
went
like
from
20.
20. I would say he's 27 on the original 100.
Hank Williams is 30.
Yeah, there you go.
And did we see Junior?
No, I did not see him on the
No.
list at all. But yeah,
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan, but you could have like Garth Brooks.
Yeah, how is he not? I mean, again, like you said, if you're talking just, catalog, voice, and performance, I mean, I think he absolutely would have to be on the list.
right.
I feel like this was an attempt to piss us off.
Are they trolling?
I
us?
think it was clickbait.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think people really put any real thought into this, because if they had, we would not be looking at this list with so many questions and exclamation points and going, fucking seriously. Look, I am one of the biggest Chris Cornell fans out there as far as vocalist, but he's not, there's no way he's above Steve Perry. And then you look at Emmylou Harris at 79. Are you freaking kidding me? No way. Way too low. Way too low.
Gene Simmons calls list bullshit after he and Celine Dion get left off.
Oh, and yeah. How
I love that I love that he's standing up for Celine.
Well, only by happenstance, right? Because he's
Yeah.
he's really standing up.
I mean, he's not wrong, but
Wow.
and Shaka Khan at 29, I think you mentioned that one, Thor. I just that blows my mind.
Hold on a second. It's not about. Let's see. Okay. According to this is who is this? Metal Sucks is the article, or is the site. Rolling Stone forgot about some huge names on their list. This came out 2 days after the list. The list was published on January 1st. This was January 3rd. And it says, sure, the list got grades, whatever, blah, blah, blah. According to the list, singers were chosen. Here we go. So with that criteria in mind, why isn't Iron Maiden's Bruce Dickinson in the top 200? No Chester.
1,000%.
No Chester Bennington in the
Agree.
top 200. And for fuck's sake, and this is quoted, and can someone for fuck's sake explain how Glenn Danzig squeezed his failed Elvis Presley cover album ass onto the list like Mike motherfucking Patton? Oh, wait. Onto the list, but Mike motherfucking Patton, with his 6 vocal octaves and insanely eclectic career, didn't make it. Mike Patton, in case you don't know, Faith No More. Yeah, I agree. They definitely left some people off. Chester Bennington, from a vocalist range or a vocalist person.
Yep.
I mean, fuck, dude, that dude had some pipes on him. May he rest in peace.
Yeah, they fucking screwed the pooch, shit the bed. I mean, whatever they fucked this up. Like, shame on them. Just shame. Shame.
It says, sure, the list
Well-
has greats like Chris Cornell of Soundgarden and Audioslave fame. Naturally, it's got Judas Priest frontman Rob Halford, and I guess they're contractually obligated to include Guns N' Roses' Axl Rose. But no Lane Staley? Have they never listened to Dirt or Mad Season?
Yeah, I was going to say that's one that was kind of throwing me off, but
Yeah.
But I don't think they've, Hush, you mentioned that they failed at this list. I don't know that they did, right? I think maybe assuming that their intent was to create conversation,
Okay.
Success.
Fair play.
then they've succeeded.
You're right.
Yes.
If they succeeded in pissing all of us off and getting it 100% wrong, then you're right. They
And
succeeded.
yet we'll come back to the next Rolling Stone list and look at that one as well.
You're right. If they wanted to clickbait,
I mean-
you're right. If they wanted clickbait and they wanted to create conversation, then they succeeded.
Right.
100% true.
And let's be honest, we all 4 of us could sit down right now and say, okay, create, your list, your top 20. And maybe that's a call we have, right? Your top 20 singers. And I guarantee you there'll be some crossover, but there'll be a lot of differences.
Well, and
Yeah.
go ahead, Haas.
No, I agree, Mac. There will be, because it comes down, it's subjective, right? Like you said earlier, Mac, it's subjective and it comes down to personal preference. But I think there's certain artists, certain
Well, there's
singers
some
that
obvious
just-
shit, right? Like
Yeah,
Axl
right.
Rose.
Right. Well, like Axl Rose being as high as he is. Like, I mean, and you're right. I mean, as much as I'm not a Celine Dion fan, how she didn't even make the list? how did some of these rock icons not make the list? Like, I don't.
Right.
How is that over? How is that not a conversation and it's overlooked when people we've never even fucking heard of make this list? Because if you're some iconic
maybe there's right. We're in our little bubble.
No, yeah, but hold on. I have a pretty eclectic taste in music, and I mean,
clearly, if Thor made this list, there'd be no women on it. It would all be men.
Never said that.
According to your wife.
According to my wife.
Max taking a swing at painting you into a corner.
Right? Just because you believe in indentured servitude, don't fucking drag me into this bullshit.
It's worse than slavery. We're not even getting paid.
That's right. Thank you, Derbigus. And again, I think it's interesting. They knew there was going to be backlash. How do you not? Because in the lead into the article, they say before you start scrolling, parentheses and commenting, they knew there was going to be commentary. And I think once it was written, once the list was produced, they went, yeah, this is going to be an issue. So we need to preface in our article saying, hey, just be aware, because we know there's going to be some shit on here that you don't agree with. I mean, that's my assumption.
How is Pat Monahan from Train not even on the list?
I'm okay with that lead
and I lost Grinch.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Haas, go ahead.
I was just going to say to Thor's comment, I'm okay with that lead in. I'm okay with them saying, hey, whoa, back up there. Just take a breath, take a beat. But when you start looking at the egregiousness of the irregularities and inconsistencies and just wrongness that they get here, eat a bag of dicks. You're wrong.
But hold on. Can it be wrong? Because we've said it is subjective, right? It's one person's list.
I'll tell you why. I have a problem, because this is Rolling Stone. And they should do better than this list. What this list is,
they should be better than.
Yes, absolutely.
Now let me ask you a question. How many people? And I can say I have not done this yet. I want to go do it. How many people have gone through this list and picked out some of the names that, as you mentioned, Haas, that we have no idea who they are, and gone and listened to them?
I haven't.
I did a couple.
Yeah,
I have not.
Did you? I want to go do that. It just because, like I said, there's names on there. It's like I can't say yes or no they should be on there because I don't know who the fuck they are.
Well, and I'll be honest though, to your point, or tying into your point, I did more listening to artists that I haven't listened to in a long time, like Roy Orbison and that kind of thing, than I did. I'm going to go listen to Rosalia, or whatever the fuck, like.
You've had Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses on a constant loop. Don't
like
lie.
Otis Redding, Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson. Like I've enjoyed putting them on and listening to them.
Well, I will say from a vocalist standpoint, two people that I appreciate their music from a vocal standpoint. I think their impact, their originality, and laugh or not, Meatloaf should be on that list.
Agreed.
Not on that list. Jim Croce should be on that list.
Why can we not mute the host of the call? Fucking Meatloaf.
You're telling me from a vocal standpoint. Now I agree.
Library.
Jim Steinman wrote his music, but that motherfucker could sing.
Who?
Not only he could sing and he could perform. There was a time, in the mid to late 80s, where that dude was a 100% panty dropper. Don't fool yourself or kid yourself.
Yeah. Did you look at any of the women that were dropping their panties?
Wait, is Wayne Newton?
I did. They were smoking hot, and Meatloaf was not.
Wayne Newton.
Speaking of dropping panties, where's Wayne Newton?
Right?
Yeah, obviously.
Not unusual.
Yeah. But that's two people to me that should be somewhere. When you look at the names that are on the list and and asking, like, if you were putting together your own list, like those are two people. How does, and I'll use it, Mac, Rosalia, right? You don't know who she is. You haven't listened to her music. I get it. But when you're talking about originality, influence, their catalog, their legacy, Jim Croce, Meatloaf, two people well and above beyond whoever Rosalia is. Nothing against her. I'm sure she's phenomenal.
Well,
but you're going, what?
No, to Mac's point, he's right. Like, I mean, we all know who Johnny Cash is at 85. But one before him is Lata Mangeshkar, who is a Indian queen of melody. I've not gone to listen to that, and if I had more time, I will. Maybe we need to give ourselves a month and come back to this. Well, maybe we're wrong, but But I can tell you this: Amy
Uh-uh.
Winehouse is above Johnny Cash. Fucking wrong.
I can tell you right now, we're not wrong.
I don't, Mac. To your point, Mac. I don't have to go and listen to every artist that I don't know to know they got this shit fucking wrong.
Yeah,
That's
I
my
mean,
point.
you start, and I'm just throwing out names. I'm not necessarily trying to place them in there, but it's like Bryan Adams, Sting, Michael Bolton, and you think of all these other artists that just aren't even.
I haven't
Well,
seen
they didn't
any
even-
of the three of them.
Yeah, and you go, so you're telling me they weren't big influences?
And you
That's
look
what you're
at
trying to tell me?
Right.
Buddy Holly is 174,
That should
right
be
next
higher.
to Lana Del Rey, who's 175.
Right.
No.
And where's Richie Valens? La Bamba, baby.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, and you've got also like some duos and so forth that I guess are bands that they just stayed away from, and then they'd oddly throw in some
Milli
front.
Vanilli's not on here.
True. That's a solid point right there.
Shame.
But
Who
again,
is
like
it?
you've got a Johnny Cash and you've got a Willie Nelson, but they don't have like a Chris Christopherson or a Waylon Jennings. The four of
Or
them
is-
performed regularly together.
Is Grinch
Dolly
mentioned
Parton?
Garth Brooks?
Yeah.
Dolly Parton was on the list.
She's on the list.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, she was pretty high. I think
19
she
or
was on the
something.
20s.
17, 19.
She was up there. Yeah,
somewhere.
she's up there. Like I said, as you start to kind of comb through this list and you see the names that got left off in favor of, and maybe y'all are right. Maybe if we listen to them, we would go, okay, I get it. But you are going, do I understand the choices they made?
Well, but like I said, there's some names on here that we do know that it's like, no, I think that other person should be on here instead of them.
Well,
So even kicking out the people that we don't know. I mean, you look at like a Lana Del Rey. You're going to tell me she makes it over, Lionel Richie or somebody, right? Some of the other
Right.
names we've thrown out that did not make the list. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I've not said it eloquently, but I feel like what I've looked at based on my knowledge base, and my knowledge base of music is pretty eclectic. I am not as honed in on one genre more than others. I like a lot of different styles and types of music. And what I've seen is, and of course, being married to someone who has a very different music taste than I have has even broadened those horizons. And what I've seen is that there's just blatant and broad inconsistencies in the choices and decisions they put down here that lead me to believe they phoned this shit in.
Well, I was trying to look up some other things and I actually stumbled, and this was from 2015. I stumbled across Rolling Stone's 100 Greatest Guitarists. Now, it's a little different because they don't tell you what their criteria is. They just say, we assembled a panel of top guitarists and other experts to rank their favorites and explain what separates the legends from everyone else. And then they give you the list of who the voters are that actually took part in this. And then you go through the list and I'm like, what?
So who's number one on that list? Just
Okay.
kind of go through like the top 5.
Who do you think number one is? If you had to guess. Guitarist, obviously.
Page.
They put like somebody like Eddie
Prince.
Van
Eric
Halen,
Clapton, maybe.
Eric Clapton.
Slash.
Eric's two.
Eric's 2. Okay.
Slash.
Jimmy is 3. Jimmy Page is 3. Eric Clapton's 2.
Jimi
Jimi
Hendrix.
Hendrix
Yeah.
is 1. So I could
Okay.
get on. I could get on.
I
board
can live
there.
with that though.
Yeah,
But
see,
they
we're-
put- They put Keith Richards, and in my opinion, and I play guitar. In my opinion, Keith Richards ahead of Stevie Ray Vaughan.
bullshit.
No, sir,
Yeah,
absolutely not.
yeah.
And Stevie Ray Vaughan he's on the list, but he is. Where did I see him?
Oh, he better be in the top 10 at least.
He's 12th. George Harrison from the Beatles is ahead of Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Mm-mm.
No, I'm sorry, you're not.
Mm-mm.
So again, you look at it and you go, okay, well, I don't know what they were thinking with this one. Dwayne
Well,
Allman, Dwayne Allman from the Allman Brothers is 9th. Eddie Van Halen's 8th.
To put
You
Grinch's
know-
mind at ease real quick. Sorry, Grinch, before you go on. Christina Aguilera came in at 141.
Oh,
He
okay.
knows.
Good.
He's he's still
Just-
waiting on
just so
Bruce
you can sleep
Dickinson
tonight.
to make
Yeah.
the
Well,
list.
it's funny. I found another article by MitterMusic.com that's the 50 best singers of all time. And literally, as I'm scrolling, I'm like, yep. Steve Perry's 16 on this list, by the way. Celine Dion's 30.
Okay.
Who was 1 on that one?
Aretha Franklin.
Okay.
So I would say Aretha Franklin, by and large, tends to.
Maybe they got that one right, even though
Got
we
that
don't
right.
agree with it.
Barbara
And again-
Streisand, 32.
Yeah,
Look,
it's not
I'm
that
not
I don't
saying I
agree with it.
don't.
I'm not saying she can't be number one. I'm just saying I might put somebody else there. But that again, that's personal preference to me.
Right.
Kenny
and I think
Rogers.
that's
You gotta
where
know
did he
when to
rank?
hold them and know when to fold them.
He's got Bono at 34.
Okay. 100
Okay.
higher than the other one.
Yeah.
100 plus. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just.
I
Yeah, this
wonder-
one is much more like Stevie Nicks at 39.
You go,
know,
okay.
like-
Starts to make sense. But here's the thing. And I guess, Mac, when you're talking about putting ours together, we would have to sit down and go, okay, what's the criteria? And we all have to stick to that criteria. If it is influence, originality, legacy, catalog, and then go, okay, all of my choices are going to be based around that. So you're not going to pick somebody who's brand new. They don't have the catalog. They don't have the legacy. It takes them off the list automatically. Right?
Well, I
mean,
think, or I think maybe we could, and again, this is just for us, right? There is no real criteria. It's your favorite top 10 singers.
I mean, I can do that. Bono's 11. Oh, wait, you said top 10. Top 10.
No, I mean, that's fine for you.
Right.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah,
That's what I say. I think there could be some crossover there, but I think there's going to be some arguments as well.
But but that's why we would all have to stick to the same criteria, because if it is just personal opinion, I can't really argue your list. It's your opinion.
Yes,
You
you,
know what I'm
can. You've argued with me over
Well,
stupid
and-
shit
Well,
for
because when you're
30
wrong,
plus
you're wrong.
years.
So sit there and be
maybe-
wrong in your wrongness.
Maybe
The
that's part of the
Pacific
problem
Northwest.
I have with this list is that they weren't very particular or specific in their criteria. So it's hard for me to understand where they're coming from. So then as a rational person, I start saying, okay, well, maybe these are the bullet points that they used. No priority of bullet points like, voice strength or range or, catalog or whatever. Maybe we won't prioritize, but we'll just create these. And then I take that and I apply to this list and it still doesn't make any damn sense to me.
Well, I think there needs to be some baseline criteria. Like you have to have put out, 5 albums or something, right? If you're going to
Okay.
claim legacy and depth of catalog as part of your criteria, you can't have just put out 1 or 2.
But
Yeah,
we don't know that that's
yeah,
what they did, right?
right,
They
and-
didn't put out their criteria.
And I'm not sure. I'm not even sure that should be criteria, right? Because somebody could put out one album and blow it out of the water, and it's just it's amazing and it carries that weight moving forward. My point is that regardless, they didn't put out criteria, and even if you take what we think is educated people, lived people with eclectic music taste, even if we take and we apply 4 or 5 bullet point criteria to this list and we apply it, it still doesn't make sense, which means they still phone this in. It still isn't right. It's completely wrong, and they need to fix it. If you're Rolling Stone magazine and this is your ballywick, this is what you do for a living, get the shit right as close as you can. I don't even think they're remotely close to that.
Well, I mean, based on what you said, I will take an example of a freshman album that was phenomenal in Imagine Dragons and Dan Reynolds as the singer.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean every other album they had? I don't think any album since then ever lived up to what their first album did.
But on the flip side, I wouldn't also say he's one of the greatest singers.
I wouldn't
They're
either.
a performance band, I think.
I wouldn't either. I'm saying from what Haas is saying is a band can put out a great album and allow that to carry a lot of weight moving forward.
Well, they don't have to put out a whole album. It's called a one-hit wonder, right?
You don't make this list if
it
you're a
happens
one-hit
all the
wonder
time.
because you're,
agree.
you're
Well, I'm just
neither
saying, though.
influential nor original. If
That's
you
not
only
true,
did
though.
one.
That's not true. You can be influential and still be a one-hit wonder. That's what makes them a one-hit wonder, I think, because they are influential in that time and space. And
Who was the
continue on,
one-hit
and a lot
wonder
of those
from-
continue on.
Did
Who was
anybody
the
see-
one-hit wonder from South Korea?
Psy.
Oh,
Ty.
yeah.
Gang of
What
Psy.
has he
Gangnam
done?
Style. Yeah,
What
yeah.
the fuck has he done since then?
Nothing. But we all knew. But we all just brought up that song.
But that doesn't
That's what I'm saying.
lead to
and even Grinch
influence.
did the dance.
That
was
doesn't lead
fantastic.
to influence. Influence is something
That's not
is
true
true.
though, because
Just
it
so
did
no.
influence
Hey,
in
hold on,
that
influence is-
time.
influence is
Stop,
transcendent.
Stop.
No,
Just so we're all
but it
clear.
is transcendent.
Just
in
so
the
we're
fact
all
that,
clear.
again,
Haas,
No.
please continue, Haas.
Just so we're all clear. I can now die because I saw Grinch do Gangnam Style dance. And for those listening,
That's
and
probably what he does when his
and-
wife handcuffs him
and-
at night.
for those listening, I'm sorry y'all didn't get to see that because oh my god, it was the best.
I have the
Grinch-
video
Was it,
recorded.
was it that good? I don't think
I
it was
was
that
I'm
good.
pretty sure that the recording covers
you
video
may
too.
you may have missed your calling, my friend. I think you should do more of that.
Yeah. I got a bright future at Chippendales.
Oh God, those are,
I'd look like Chris Farley over there.
I was going to
Yes.
say, I'm picturing Patrick Swayze and Chris Farley. I'm going to let you decide which one you are.
Yeah,
That's right.
and I ain't Swayze.
When I say influence is transcendent, that means it has long-term implications. Nobody is still doing that. Nobody even cares. It's not on anybody's radar. No other band.
Bullshit, they aren't. Grinch just did it. He still
I can
remembered-
do the Macarena if you'd like, and I can let
and
the dogs
that
out.
still doesn't
and that
matter.
still happens.
My point
So
is
it
there's
is
zero
influential.
influence. There is no long-term impact to
Word.
that song being created. It was a
No, there
blip on the
is.
radar. Wrong. It was a blip on the
I'm
radar.
not wrong.
And
just
it
because you
disappeared
say
as
I'm
fast
wrong.
as it
That
showed
is
up.
not the way shit works.
Yes, it fucking is.
No, it isn't.
You've never figured out how it works. Let me show you how it works. Your ass just got muted. So that's how that works. All right. So I think we all agree this is an excellent list, and we're glad we talked about this.
well, like were any of the guys from Boys to Men on this list?
Who?
Exactly.
No.
Shouldn't they have been? There was a
I-
time where they dictated. They dictated for many years that the playlist or jams, freshman year of college, that would you mix a little Barry White and a little Al Green, you were good to go. You were gonna definitely.
Except that's a band, and they didn't. Their acapella group didn't work individually. They needed everybody to make that work. So
yeah, but
they're not going to eat up
Lionel Richie.
yeah, but all right, so yeah, we can go keep.
But
going
he
back to
makes
Lionel
sense.
Richie. Yeah, keep
Right.
going back to Lionel Richie. Where are the, go ahead.
I will say multiple lists have included Axl Rose. I don't get it. It isn't necessarily my vote, but I'm also not like a vocal teacher. Supposedly he has range and talent. I just think
Where's he
if you
keep it?
heard him, I think if you heard him in isolation, you'd be like, this man fronts a band.
Would it
Did work. I'll give him that. It worked. And he is the signature voice, but I just don't.
Would
I'm
it
not-
warrant?
I don't like him.
right.
Yeah, no, I get it. He's a douche, but I mean, like he's relevant. I mean, he is. I mean, his vocal style. I mean, they've lasted. I mean, if you'd said Bret Michaels, we would have a different conversation. But I actually kind of get Axl Rose to a certain degree. I really do.
What about
Okay.
David Lee Roth?
Mm.
I'm your ice cream man.
Diamond
Stop me when
Dave.
I'm coming round.
That's right. Yeah, it was an interesting list, but like I said, going through the other Rolling Stone lists, I'm beginning to see that they seem to struggle with all of these. I'm not sure I agree with them. Was that you dropped in there, Grinch? Was that the other one? Yeah,
That's that other list. Yeah. And like I said, you go 1 to 50 on that one, and you pretty much just nod along. Of like, you agree that they all should be on the list. You might argue one high, one low, but it's the usual suspects. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like some magazine that's trying to show they've scoured the depths of like a village in Africa, to find a freaking vocalist.
Yeah, because on this list, Bob Marley is 19th, and I think on Rolling Stones he's like 98.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what do you mean, Rolling Stone? This is a Rolling Stone article.
No, Mitter, the one he sent out, Mitter.
Mitter. Okay.
MitterMusic.com, 50 best
gotcha.
singers of all time. Do you
Gotcha.
know when was this published? I didn't look. I'm assuming this didn't come out with. Yeah, see, I'm not seeing a date on this,
I got to reopen it.
but I'm also.
You're gonna like unmute Mac at some point.
I can't. He's got to do it.
Oh.
He's
think-
being obtuse.
He's
Just-
being a donkey.
He's being belligerent. Yeah. So here, and they don't give criteria on theirs. They give no criteria in terms. They just jump right into the list. Number one,
And
Aretha.
somehow you look at it and you're like, I think I get it. Yeah, best singer. You know what I mean? Because in your own head, you're like, I envision strong vocal, technique, quality, signature sound, whatever.
Right.
And they've been a huge influence. Like to me, it's like pretty straightforward. Because otherwise, if it isn't, then you need to really dial in the niche or the column you're trying to fit them in,
the nuances,
to justify why they're going up and down.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. That's way more eloquently than what I said earlier.
Yeah, because Barbara Streisand's 32 on this list. I think she's in the 170s in Rolling Stones list.
Yeah.
Bowie, Van Morrison, Nina Simone. Okay. Stevie, Neil Young. Yeah, I get your point with this one.
And I mean, I get that, her focus is Broadway, but then you start thinking about like a Idina Menzel, and talents like that have kind of gone, like, I know their songs may have bridged over through the big screen, but they're phenomenal friggin' singers.
Where's Michael Bublé? Where's Pavarotti? Where are my opera singers at? None of them are represented, and they're world class.
Which is why you typically say like best crooner, or best rock singer, but instead they just threw the shit all together, and I'm like, fuck.
Best barbershop quartet.
Yeah, half-assed motherfucking fail. Wrong. They got it wrong. Phoned in shameful motherfuckers.
What were you gonna say, Mac?
I forgot. I'm pissed off, and I'm taking my ball and going home.
Hey, Mac.
I still love you.
Hey, Mac.
I still love you, Hoss.
Love you, buddy. Yeah, thank you. Oh, fuck.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I'll have to mute you again. You know where that leads.
Check your phone.
Check
I sent you the Rolling Stone top 10 one-hit wonders.
Oh, you didn't?
Again. When those come
send
across
it to me, you send. Oh,
I thought you meant
group. I thought you meant to me. That's why I'm like, you didn't send me.
Well, you're in the group, right?
Am I? Doesn't feel.
I'm starting to wonder. There's songs on there that anytime they come on, people start kind of dancing and bobbing their head. And
Chumbawamba, yeah.
That's one that when it comes
Blind Melon, yeah.
I know Blind Melon has a special place for you.
No, I'm gonna go with.
What is this
Tainted
number?
Love.
96 Tears. What?
Yeah, I never heard of that one.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that.
And I don't know Big Country and a Big Country.
Yeah.
You know Big Country.
Yeah, you do. Yes.
Spirit in the Sky. I do like Spirit in the Sky. That's a great song.
Come on, Eileen.
Yeah,
I think I did.
Come on, Eileen. Yeah. And Take on Me. So yeah, those. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
So I'm just saying, you can be a one-hit wonder and still be.
You just won't make Rolling Stones list.
Relevant. You just won't.
Yeah, you will. Yeah. You'll just make their one-hit wonders list. They have a list for everything.
Yeah.
They seem to, right or wrong. All right. So as we close this up, any final parting thoughts? Haas, we know you're clearly not a fan of this list.
What do you mean? I've not made that vocal at all.
So from a vocal perspective, you should have made this list.
About how wrong it is and how they phone this shit in.
That's it. Grinch, what about you, brother?
Yeah, I just thought it was a little too cute. That's what I'm walking away from. And if you're an artist not on here, you're like, who fucking cares?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what kind of impact that does have with artists. Like, I have to imagine artists do look at these lists and go, really? Like, I'm below them or I'm not on the list?
Well, think about this.
You read out the Metal article, right? Where they called them out on it.
Right.
Well, not just that. You'll go look at this and you'll be like, "Ooh, I've never heard of that person. They've got them ranked at so and so, and I like so and so, so I'm going to go listen to this." And then all of a sudden, they're becoming more mainstream or listened to, perhaps.
Yeah, I guess my point is, if I'm Bono and I open this list up, do I give it credence or do I go, "What the fuck?"
I'm pretty sure if you're Bono, you aren't reading this shit.
Speaking of Creed, where's Scott Scap? Or was it Scott Scap? Jesus.
I think you were right the first time. Please stop.
He's been drinking, and
but you're right. I think he's a pompous ass, but I think he has a good voice.
Yeah, they tried to make a comeback that didn't work out so well for them. I think they released one album and then disappeared again.
Yeah, I think he did some stuff with the Doors, and he actually did a pretty good job covering Jim Morrison.
And I will tell you two other people that I think should have made this list: Rob Thomas as a solo artist. He was the lead singer, Matchbox 20, but as a solo artist, phenomenal. Dave Matthews as a solo artist.
Dave Matthews,
his music
how
is
does he not
phenomenal.
make this?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It
Doesn't
I mean,
make any
they threw
sense.
a bunch of names in, just hacked off the edges, rearranged it, and said, "Let's get like the top 10 in an alignment that makes sense, and then the rest is fucking shit."
Just
We'll
throw
figure it
shit
out.
against
Right,
the wall
right.
and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
again, when you're talking about 200, that's too broad of a list in my mind. Anyway, it should be narrowed down to like the top 50, because at some point, like you said, you're just going out and pulling names to fill out your list.
Right. Or you're just throwing darts against the dartboard and go, oh, okay, Glenn Danzig, 199. You know, it's like, what? And no rhyme or reason as to why. I'm sure Glenn was like, fuck yes. You know, but it's like,
And the
no.
number, and how many people were like, "Who?" You know,
You've done
I
what
mean,
when?
Because unless you're our age, you don't know who that motherfucker is.
No, because all he did, he was the lead singer of the Misfits, and then he did his own thing, and I don't
He
even
only
know
had the
when-
one song that I recall, and so
Mother.
that's kind of Mother. That's it, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
How did David Hasselhoff not make the list?
Oh,
I mean, clearly
If this
there was
a
nobody
German
from
list.
Germany.
If this was a
There was
German
nobody
list,
Oh,
from Germany on this.
or how
on
about
this
that
panel.
that singer? The
that's it. That's it. What's
I'm
the
gonna
name of
have
that
dreams
band?
about Grinch doing that now.
Did John Fogerty make the list?
Yes, he's high.
Yeah, he
though.
did.
Okay. Or
He's
what
fairly.
about
What about
Allman?
JT?
No, didn't see
No?
Justin Timberlake anywhere on the list.
Oh, I thought he was thinking Jethro Tull. Sorry.
Didn't see him on the list either.
I mean, Maynard.
no.
Maynard's got a phenomenal voice, and he's not on the list, so they can get
But-
fucked. I'm getting angrier now. Actually, I was starting to calm down. They can just get fucked with this list.
He's like, I
Thank
was
you,
pissed at
Grinch.
Bruce. Yeah, I
Thank
was
you.
pissed at Bruce
Yes.
Dickinson. Now I'm
I
straight up
started
angry.
off with get fucked. I'm glad someone's coming with me. on the
yes,
get
I am
fucked
fully
train, 'cause
with
I'm-
Team Haas.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate
Fuck
these
this
fucking douche
list.
nozzles phoning this shit in.
Yeah.
Okay, then I think we do a follow up and we put together our own list.
Well, that's like work.
Well, you got something else going on?
Well, the problem is, Grinch's list will be the top 10 and then
And it'll
200
be-
alternates.
Right.
Exactly. When he gets through his top, I'm going to tell you right now. You get through your top 10 and Bruce isn't on there. I'm going to go, why?
Yeah. I mean, Bruce Dickinson has to be in there. He's. I mean, I just saw the dude last year, and he's at how old? 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
And he maintained the same voice strength over a 2-hour show.
right.
I mean, I saw
know,
Dave
I know.
Mustaine. Was that 2020, and I was still impressed with what he was able to do. And this guy just survived throat cancer. How the fuck did he make the list? I mean,
Because surviving throat cancer wasn't part of their criteria.
Anthony Kiedis.
right? And that's
No,
another.
Red
guy.
I mean, if you're going to put on, Chris Cornell and Eddie Vedder and Kurt Cobain, I mean, I don't know. Now that I throw his name out there and I think,
I'm walking it back now.
I mean,
See,
yeah, I might walk that one back a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Anthony Kiedis and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but I think I understand the other three a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, never mind.
I take that back. Erase
Well,
that
take
from the
that
chalkboard.
It was just delete all of that.
All of that.
maybe.
That's it.
I mean, it seems to me you would take 8 genres of music, and you would take the top
Top 5 or
yeah,
whatever.
25 of each genre, right? And then you would start compiling your list because it looks like they just completely overlooked certain genres of music.
Well, the problem is when you get into the minutia of, I mean, it's not like it's fucking rock and pop and R&B and rap. Now there's 47 different fucking subgenres of rock. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you even do that
I know,
anymore?
well, yeah.
I don't even know. When did that even start? Like, they had to quantify something and it wasn't rock. It was alt rock. It was indie rock. It was.
It started in the 90s with us, actually.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, don't put that shit on us.
It's our fault.
It did when Rock Nation started really growing. When Kurt Cobain came on and started, Chris Cornell and all them started kind of taking things away from the.
You had grunge rock and
Everything had
but
to
you
be
had
quantified in
punk before
itself.
that. So I mean, that kind of broke out. Even though you would think it was rock, it was its own subgenre of rock.
Of course.
So
All right. So I think we're all in agreement. This list is dog shit. feel free to go out and check it out. Just go to Rolling Stones, fucking
Dog
Google.
shit on fire inside of a dumpster on a train wreck.
That's right. Just go out and Google Rolling Stones top 200 greatest singers list. It'll pop up for you. You can go through all 200 yourself. Maybe you'll look at it and go, I agree with everything they said, from Rosalia on down to Aretha Franklin.
And you should. Shame on you, Rolling Stone. Shame.
But I think we are in agreement that this list is clearly an issue, and maybe we're going to get together and compile our own much smaller list, because Grinch doesn't want to do too much work.
I would offer the counter advice: don't waste your time looking at it. It's garbage.
There you go. Don't waste your time looking at it. Everything I said,
don't
forget it.
support those ad hits and site hits.
Grinch
We already did. We did enough of that shit. We'll save you the
Grinch
trouble.
just gave you back 3 weeks of your life.
I tell you
arguing
what,
about this.
I tell you what, if you want a better option, go to mittermusic.com and look up 50 best singers of all time. They have a much better list. It's a much smaller list. It's easier to get through. Now, they don't list criteria, but you know what? At least they made a lot of the correct hits on this in terms of who they chose. So go out and do that and forget Rolling Stone. Gentlemen, as always, I appreciate you coming in, doing this. Mac, I love you. I had to mute you. You were getting carried away. I'm sorry. Gangnam Style was a piece of shit song.
Just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I'm getting carried away.
Yeah.
Go back and see. Hey, can you pull up a list real quick? Go back and see our censorship issue, please.
Yes.
You may need to revisit that.
As
What's
always,
the commercials where you go throw the red flag and we all review the tape?
That's
it, right?
Oh, that's painful.
Coach's challenge.
I would relate so much.
But feel free
I'm
to go.
sure we all would be.
Yeah. Feel free to go out to our, it's all right. Feel free to go out to our website at dispiriteddebate.com. Check out all of the drinks that we have here. All of the episodes are there in the vault, 165 or so. That's a lot to go through. They're roughly an hour an episode. So it's plenty of time for, your drive time into work, or going home from work, or, you just want to drone out the wife and kids, or the husband and kids, or the grandkids. It doesn't matter. Just go ahead and give us a listen. We'd love to have you on board, listening to us week in and week out. Feel free to drop us a line at the 4 horsemen at dispiriteddebate.com. You can drop us a line, tell us a drink you'd like us to try, a topic you'd like us to debate. As always, we would love to try to get you on here if you go ahead and do that. And please remember, macbottom003@gmail.com. We are compiling a list of movies that he unfortunately has not watched in his 41 years on this planet. He doesn't age. It's a beautiful thing.
Hey, is that list up on our website?
Movie list?
Mm-hmm.
It is not, but I can put it up there.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's have everybody go check out the list at the website and see if
I appreciate that, Haas. Thank you for causing me more work, man. I love you.
We have a website.
Bro, I'll help you out. What is our website?
It is the Spirited. How does me telling you the web address even fucking help you doing the work to put the list up? It doesn't.
But it does, in theory.
Okay. It's spiriteddebate.com. Ladies and gentlemen.
Did you share the email address?
I did. It's macbottom003@gmail.com.
Yeah. And Scruffy, I apologize. I did respond to you if you're listening. I feel horrible. I hadn't checked.
He did.
He did email. He's got a topic he'd like for us to talk about, so I'll throw that out amongst the group.
Sweet.
That's what happens, Scruffy, when you email a bottom. You get no response.
Well, you get a response. You get a response.
It's about a month later.
You just can't necessarily see the response.
When the head's in a pillow, you can't tell what
That's
they're
right.
saying.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's my point. Because you're getting the response from behind.
That's it.
Because I'm busy listening to Gangnam Style.
I thought it was so you could both watch X-Files.
Why aren't they on the list?
Sufficient.
Right?
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that's it. We're going to bring this one to a close. This has been fun, enjoyable. I'm sorry this list was dog shit. Maybe their next one will be better, but I'm not holding out a whole lot of hope. Mittermusic.com. Check out their 50 best singers of all time. We will leave it there. Gentlemen, love doing this with you week in and week out. Love you guys. And we'll do this again next week.
Peace out.
Cheers.
See ya. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the A Spirited Debate podcast series or any affiliated podcast are solely those of the hosts or guests involved and do not represent those of people, institutions, or organizations that the host or guests may or may not be associated with in a professional or personal capacity, unless explicitly stated. While guests are invited to listen, listeners acknowledge that they are not being provided professional advice from the podcast or its guests. The content within the parameters of A Spirited Debate podcast series or any affiliated podcast are for entertainment and educational purposes only. Any views or opinions are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, or individual.